Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto Anime review. This one's going to be for episode 235, which is called Infiltrating Doto Island. Um, this was an okay episode. I can't really bring myself to overly praise it, but I also don't think it's overly fair to hyper criticize it just because in the grand scheme of things, it did what it needed to do. It was another setup episode because we're still in the sort of setup section of the arc. We're not yet ready to have any of the big action scenes or big reveals or anything like that. So we're just building things up, putting pieces into place. And that's more or less exactly what this episode did. The main thing it accomplished in terms of the plot was finally bringing the sort of, Boruto stuff, the stuff from the last two episodes, together with the Denki stuff from the what seemed to be an individual episode but is actually incorporated into this arc. So Mitsuki and Sarada, who go off together, end up meeting up with Denki and his team. And we get the whole robot, reincorporated back in. But for the most part, that was the main plot progression. Yes, we have Boruto, Kagura, and the ninja swordsman and stuff like that, heading out to sea to go after the Funato clan. And we end with the cliffhanger that they've arrived at their sort of sea base or giant ship. They still kind of keep it in shadows, but this seems like an interesting location. This might be maybe where the kind of finale happens. It depends because it's hard to judge right now if this arc is going to be, say, 3-4 more episodes or 8-9 more episodes, because we have had relatively long arcs in Boruto before where they have been, close, over 10, getting closer to 15 and stuff like that. But we haven't had a kind of anime original arc this long in quite a while. So it feels like we're building up to the fights happening relatively soon, in that I'm not sure if we quite have an insane amount going on that we need to delve into all over the place. The most significant character stuff in the episode was definitely that just little bits and pieces with the ninja swordsman, in terms of they reveal that, okay, the curse mark thing that we saw in the previous episode is something with Kagura, that he basically can control them, that if they act out, he can get them in line with that, and I suppose end them if required. But he then reveals to Boruto at the end of the episode effectively why he has any sort of faith in them at all, that they might be redeemed and changing their ways. And that is that when their leader broke out, was it Shizuma or something like that? I forget the exact pronunciation of the name. They had an opportunity to go with him, but didn't. And you get across that he's still maybe a little bit I don't fully understand their motivations, but the fact that they didn't just go back to their old ways speaks to their trying something different. Now, obviously, in the episode, we see that they're still acting a little bit villainous. They want to sort of attack, kill first, ask questions later. But I suppose we're going to get into more emotional stuff with them later on, of them just being open and honest about what is it that they actually want to do now, which is why I do think this arc is maybe leading towards us having, like I've said in previous episodes, a group of ninja swordsmen that are actually on the right side this time out, instead of just being rogue ninja, which is what they've sort of been in any iteration of them that we've seen in previous Naruto, Boruto stuff. So that would be cool to see. We get some exposition about some of the details. It's still rather vague about the taking down of the Funato clan before, and that it was Chojuro that was the one who actually defeated the leader of the Funato clan. So that makes sense, because it means that he was defeated by a Kage level character, so he is going to be a threat, given that characters who are not as strong as that are going to have to defeat him now. So I'm still interested in what his powers are, because while they haven't been doing a lot of like overly detailed kind of setup on what exactly their goals are beyond just they really like the sea, and then from the earlier episodes that they oppose the sort of calming of the seas to make things more peaceful, that the ocean should be as raging as possible effectively. They at least are setting up that they are violent, they are attacking people, they are killing people. Many people died when the Fanato clan was in its prime, which is why they had to be taken down. That's really about it. Like we had, of course, like stuff like the groups discussing things, the split up kind of the different groups happening here. About the only other, I think, really interesting note was when they were discussing the Fanato clan's sort of actions, Kawaki speaks up and probably says the most important thing he said in the whole arc, which is that he calls sort of Boruto like an idiot for sort of like, I suppose, just dismissing the Fanato clan's actions as just effectively that of villains, and that like he says something like even, you know, bad people do things for their own reasons. And Mitsuki then notes that like, that's an interesting thought. That like none of us would have considered it, but Kawaki, because he has a bit of a different perspective, actually brings that into play. Which makes me think that this group, which overall right now just feels like, you know, pirates, you know, bandits, you know, just being violent, power, basic stuff, makes it feel like there is actually going to be a little bit of a more significant motivation for this going on. Because again, I think they do have to reconnect this with the start of the arc and some of the stuff that was said of these sort of sea dampener things. Like, are they actually good? Is there a negative to them? They are badly affecting the nation, but are they helping like the sea life or something like that, like behind the scenes? Like, I'm waiting for some sort of a maybe twist like that, but we'll see if the arc actually has some more depth to it or not as we go forward. Because like I said, this episode like didn't really have much like significant action. It was just a lot of basic, you know, okay, a little bit of surveillance, Mitsuki snake attack, little bit of a chase scene with the robot before it gets back to Denki. That's really it. But the setup seems to be, at least like, we're going to explore this kind of castle or giant sea vessel that they get to at the end, and the group that I suppose Denki and so on are with, they're more set on they need to get the researchers who've been captured back, because again the clan is going after like the gold on the island, and they seem to be now taking over the use of the robots. So it'll give Denki something to do in terms of, because he can do stuff with the robots, it means we have other characters in play to get involved in the action. Because otherwise it felt like, oh, like who's going to fight against effectively an army of pirates? But now we actually have quite a few people in play. So I think that's about it. It's a weird one in that, like, do you praise this episode for sort of doing the setup thing and doing what it needs to do well, while sort of ignoring the fact that it's not a super significant episode? Or do you criticize it because it didn't have a lot going on and it was mostly setup? I think you have to have somewhat of a balance of realize just that, like, its position in the story means it's never going to be one of the strongest episodes of the arc. But arcs need episodes like this, so it's not super helpful to just like rip it apart for not having a lot going on. It did what it had to do, but it was all right. So, you know, sort of average episode, you know, it's like your definition of like a 6.5, maybe a 7 if you're being super generous, but you know, nothing I think beyond that. So, they're my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were and where you think this arc is going. But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.